Hey everybody, Joe here, K7JOE, and I'm out here in the woods today on an icy day because I went to check on 17 meters and my transceiver was dead. So I came out here to check the ZS6BKW antenna to see maybe if ice had caused a problem. But it wasn't ice. It turns out a very hungry critter decided to chew through my coax cable in about 6 places near the feed point of the antenna. So I'm out here fixing the antenna, the ZS6BKW. Let's take a quick look. Okay, here's the remnant of the ZS6BKW coaxial feed. It's RG8X, and you can see the coax was chewed through here and chewed through here in multiple places. Has some pretty good kinks and teeth marks, so of course it wasn't working. And then I found this extra length here that had some chew marks about halfway down. I was getting ready to put a coax connector on, and I noticed that there were chew marks down the coax, a couple places where it has definitely breached the shield, or at least the outer jacket. So anyway, I've cut all that off. I've got now a nice span of RG8X coax, and what I'm doing is I'm basically just attaching two PL259 connectors in a barrel. Again, the feed of the ZS6BKW, a lot of people put these things in a box, which all that does is it can accumulate moisture and cause water to ingress in the coax. And so what I do is I leave it out in the open. I connect the coax with a pigtail to the ladder line with solder, and then I use some butyl tape and then some electrical tape over that. And that's actually a much better connection. That's never going to leak, never going to get water in your coax. You don't have to worry about SO239 or PL259 connectors at the junction, and you can see I've just hung it here in the tree. Anyway, let's go and we'll work on fixing the PL259 connectors. I'll talk a little bit about that and the method that I use. Okay, this is one of those ham lessons that I learned many years ago. PL259 with the UG176 ring reducer, which reduces the coax for the RG8X. One of the things that I always use is silver Teflon PL259. It's real simple why. They take solder very easily. They can handle high temperature, so you don't mess them up when you try to solder them with a 40-watt soldering iron. And generally, because they're strong enough, I use a propane torch, just like this, just like a Coleman can with a little torch on the top with some solder hanging off there. And I'll show you how I do that, and it seems to work pretty well. And it makes a good connection. I get all 4 of the braided strands soldered in there, and then of course the center pin. And I've never had a problem with this kind of coax connector and this methodology. So again, don't use the cheap tin stuff that you can buy online or from Radio Shack. These are nice quality silver connectors. I usually buy 20 or 30 of them at a time and keep them on hand. And I'll usually buy 10 of the RG58 and 10 of the RG8X reducers. I like to use RG58 in certain applications. It's real thin and it's real easy to work with. People don't realize it'll handle a kilowatt of power no problem. And if you're not going too long a distance in run, or if you're in the low frequency bands like 160 or 80 meters, it really doesn't make a whole lot of difference. You're not losing but a decimal perhaps every 100 feet, maybe even less than that. Anyway, okay, we'll get back to the soldering a PL259 connector on in just a minute. Let me strip the coax. All right, here we go. I got the coax stripped, the shield, the outer conductor about, I don't know, about an inch or so. And I've got my reducer ring on and my coax outer connector on. Don't ever forget to put that outer connector on. I do that all the time. Forget the damn thing. Solder everything up and then realize, whoops, I forgot to put that on. So get in the habit of putting that on first. Get the reducer ring on. Then what I do with the reducer ring, I'll show you what I do here in just a minute. There we go. Now you can see I've trimmed the hairs. Most of them are above that threads on the reducer ring. I'll clip a few more off here, and then I'll put the I'll strip the white, which is the center conductor, and I'll put on the PL259. Okay, I've got it set here. The problem that you have, if you see those little hairs that are on those threads, that'll prevent the reducer ring from basically threading all the way into the PL259. So I'm really careful to make sure there's no strands of braid that are interfering with those threads. And then of course you can see how much I've stripped off of the center conductor. I'm leaving a little bit there, a little bit of the center conductor insulation there, and now I'll screw on the PL259. All right, this is what things look like once it's all screwed in. I generally will take a pliers and really make sure that the PL259 connector is screwed down tightly to the reducer. You'll see copper strands are coming through those holes, and that's where we'll solder. And then, of course, the center conductor, we'll solder the center conductor too. Now, again, I use a torch, so we'll do that. I'm probably not going to be able to catch that on camera because I can't hold three things at once. Okay, got the connector soldered on nicely, and you'll see the solder has flowed very nicely into each of the 4 holes. No cold solder joints. A little bit of flux around there could clean up, and then of course the center tip, and that works great. I love the silver PL259 and reducers, and I love how they take solder and they work great. Yes, the crimping is great too. That's another methodology that works well, but I'm kind of old school with soldering. I just haven't bought the crimping tools yet. I guess I'll do that eventually. Okay, here we go. Quick test of the antenna repair. 1.2 to 1 on 40 meters, so we're back in business.